Hello, it's Joey, and today we're making collage cards and tags with fast flow stitching. So I'm making ephemera for our junk journals with fast flow stitching on the front, and these are great little things for popping in a pocket in a junk journal, just adding something a little bit extra. So this is the one I made and filled for Junk Journal July, and you can take one of these and just pop it in one of your pockets, something to write on, something glorious with texture, something to feel. Each of these little items of ephemera, these tags and journal cards, have got collage on the back, and I really love gluing the paper down and mixing up the patterns, so we'll have some fun doing that. And on the front of them you can see that these have stitches, but the stitching is in curves, and that's what fast flow stitching is all about. So I'm going to be taking my sewing machine and sewing over this in curves so that we have a project that's a little bit different. You feel free, it feels creative, and it's just a lot of fun. I'll do all of this step by step, and then we'll cut them out and add eyelets and ribbon and really finish them off. Last week I used fast flow stitching to make the cover of a junk journal, and I think that these little items of ephemera would go really well in something like this. And I also have, as I often do these days, some little step-by-step instructions for you, so we'll reference these as they go through. And you can take a screenshot now if that helps, so that you can make these collage cards and tags with fast flow stitching at your desk and have some fun. The first thing we want to do is decide on our main piece of paper that we're going to cut up into some lovely journal cards and tags, and whatever little bits of shape you feel like making, anything is fine. I have pulled out a few pieces of paper here that I thought would just give you some ideas so you can make the most of the supplies that you already have. And I would say that any of these would work. So this is a digital, but it's not divided up into the shapes of tags or journaling cards, but I still think that would work, and you could draw the shapes yourself. Here's another one. This is the Luise HEINZL set that I played with in last week's video. I think they're scrumptious. Something like this would work really well too, although I have printed this on thinner paper, and the paper that I would suggest for a project like this is ideally about 160 GSM, so thicker than copy paper, substantially thicker than copy paper, and I think that will really help if you can get something that's a little bit thicker. I think this would be great because there's texture in it. So again, this one hasn't got journal cards and tags divided up. I like vintage style, that would work beautifully too, but you could also use book pages, and you could stick book pages together and make your own substrate. So this is just a few pages stuck together, and this is the kind of approach I've used for actually making the cover of that fast flow stitching junk journal from last week. But you could collage on the back and the front and turn that into the tags and journaling cards too. So don't feel that you are limited if you don't have digits. I think that's really important to know. Just another idea. And the one that I'm using today is actually one I used in a collaboration a couple of months ago, and I felt like doing something with texture on this. So this one is divided up. It is a beautiful mix of these neutrals, black, gorgeous teal, we've got flowers, we've got text, we've got a little bit of graph paper here, and even lace embedded in it. And this to me is a classic Luise HEINZL. She really brings texture and interest into the designs. So I'm going to build on that and just have a bit of a play. So the first thing I'm going to do is just look at this and think, what sort of colours do I have mixed in there? And then I'll turn the thing over and we're going to do a little bit of fun collage. So I've pulled out onto my desk. I don't know when I did this, I must have felt organised at some point. I've got some neutrals here in a pack, so that's really handy. I might use those. And I also pulled out some other bits, some larger pieces and some smaller pieces. And I'm not going to be too precise in the way that I collage. And indeed, the joy of this project is we can move quite quickly in covering, because behind each of these little pieces is some differentiation that we build up, but I don't think we want absolutely tiny pieces on this. So it is one where we can use some of our, maybe our larger book pages, and just mix that up with a bit of scrapbook paper, but anything goes. So I decided that because of the blues and the teals here, I would reach into my road atlas and have a bit of this. So why don't we kick off with the largest piece, just get going and stick some of this down. Now I am going to glue all the way to the edges, even though when I cut these out I will be trimming off, and the reason for that is I am even going to use the leftover pieces in some other project. I've just decided they're too beautiful to throw away, so I'm going to glue all the way to the edge on this one when I collage, and I won't waste a little bit. So let's just get something down, and I'll leave my usual bit of glue gap at the edge here so I can tuck things in. There we are, something like that. And what else do we have in here? I've got a bit of shabby dabby doodah. I think I'll go for something up here. Let's just fill in some corners and make life easy. I've got some bits left over from another project here. Maybe something like that. So, I like those butterflies, they're beautiful. Where should we have that? Just get going. It doesn't need to be, actually, it doesn't need to be that precise, because we are going to be cutting out those images on the front. I'm getting slightly obsessed by my butterflies. Where shall we have it? Let's have it up here. I've got quite a liquid glue, so it's relatively quick to do our gluing. They can come onto there. And I don't like my straight edges at all, so those are going to get covered up. Beautiful piece of paper. So, doesn't matter if you overlap at all. We're going to have a little bit of extra rigidity added in all of these pieces of ephemera from the various layers of collage. That can go on there. Again, I've got another straight line, so I'm going to cover some of these up. I know that I've got some of my beautiful vintage paper here, so I'll do something with that. And I love the mix of these vanillas and gorgeous fonts. Something like that. Actually, that would go there. Just comes together, despite the fact that this paper is sitting right next to a modern road atlas. It just seems to work. So largish pieces going down, and if you think your pieces are just a bit too big, then you can always break it up by adding another piece on top. Should we have something sideways? Yeah, how about that? Ooh, I've coloured on one side, and it's blue. Even better. Let's get that one down. It is the most wonderful thing in the world, collage. And I mentioned in last week's video, maybe the one before actually, that I'm going to be doing something around a glue book, so more collage to come. And I do actually have a question, if you wouldn't mind helping me out. And my question is whether, if I do a glue book page, is it the process you want to see nice and slowly, or is it technique and a speedier video? So if you could help me understand what works for you, that would be superb. What else have we got on here? That's nice. So if I were to do some collaging in a glue book, which is not about making fantastically beautiful pictures, then do you want me to go slowly, take my time, and explain what I do, or is it more about technique and therefore sort of a 20-minute video is really what you're after? If you could help me understand that, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I'm planning my glue book pages. I can't wait to do them. I'm just interested to know where to pitch it. That would be great. See how this builds up really quickly. Now my concern at the moment is I've slightly got a lot of this map down here and a lot of my neutrals up here, so I might just mix it up a bit. Let's find a way of doing that. Oh, right. Now this is a personal thing, so don't laugh. This is one of my university essays, and there's something I'm doing about decluttering at the moment, and I can't just throw them away. I don't know if you've kept any of your school books, but I feel that if I use them in a collage, I'm kind of not throwing them away, but I'm using them up. So I win, because I do need to reduce what I've got and declutter. That's going on there because I don't want to cover up too much of my butterfly. I want to break up these lines, so I'm happy with that, and I really like the blue ink. And you get a little piece of my essay on wages and collective bargaining. How interesting was that? I have no memory of it whatsoever. I wouldn't have a clue what I wrote. Right, let's just break up some of this down here so that when we cut out those images, we've got some extra interest on the back. So it doesn't need to be at the edge, but we do want to just cut across any of these longish straight lines wherever these pieces have joined. Shall we do it upright? Something different. Let's break something up down here, because we'll just get a slice through it. I think Tina Shabby Dabby Doodah might have done some reverse collaging recently, and I think this is its cousin. This is something like reverse collaging, although we do know where we're going to cut. So a little bit more. I picked this one because of the little flash of blue florals down here. So I think I want to make use of that, but I don't want so much straight line. I think that can go down there. And I know that I'm going to be cutting quite a big piece off here. So I'm going to bring that in so to get a little bit more of it. Like that. So we're not far off, and that was super quick. Let's have a tiny bit more. I can't resist putting this on. Got some beautiful text. I don't need to worry too much about creating an image from the whole of this, because it's going to be broken up and cut up. It's just about creating a landscape that we can trim. I will have that underneath. That's really good. How's it working for you? What do we think? Enough busyness? Maybe one little thing down here. I'm going to add some really naughty contrast, and you might not think this would work, but I do. Some sort of Hello Kitty type paper. I think it's origami paper. It's very thin. I'm not quite sure where it sprang from, but I like it, so I'm going to have that on there. And it's a great contrast, but it kind of works in the family of what's on the page because we've got those blues. It's not like I've introduced green or, you know, purple, something like that. I wonder where that will pop up when we do the cutting from the other side. And obviously what I will do in a second is just trim around it. So I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Maybe just a little bit more over here. Yeah, just a bit more. And then I think that is the back done. I think the ink fountain pen just works so well, doesn't it? And it's a gorgeous shade of blue. So the next thing we're going to do is add decoration and texture onto the front, and I think what I'll do first is just trim off some of these extra pieces. On my desk around me I have surrounded myself with just a sumptuous bounty of things to play with, and I think I've got 4 things I'm going to do to the front of this collection of ephemera that's gathered together in one piece. I'm going to add some mica, and I'll talk you through the colours I've chosen and why. I'm going to add some stamps, so get out your script stamp if you have one, or anything similar, something with detail. I'm going to have a go at splatting with colour, and I might have a go with a lovely vibrant chalk marker here, but paint will do, we'll have a play with that. And I'm also going to add the texture, so I'm going to string some bits of old curtain on, so we'll have a go at that. So let's begin with slightly dampening the page, and for this one I am going to give it a bit of a spray with a mica and water solution that I've made up, but I've made this one up in some different colours just for a change, and also because I just love the teal in this butterfly, so I thought I would really bring that out. So I have mixed together moss green, and this looks like it's got some gold in it actually. Let's just show you this. This is an Arteza mica, beautiful, love these, love playing with them, and look at the vibrance. How vibrant that is. So I put a couple of tiny spoons in an old cosmetic spray, added about an inch or so of water, and that can go in there. I'll show you the box they came from. I'm working my way through the vibrant colours. I'm not just using the gold and the green, although I could get lost on just some of those colours, but you get all sorts in these, and I think the alchemy, the beauty is mixing them up and seeing what you get. So I'm having a play with those. They are a set of 35 Arteza mica powders, and they pretty much last a huge long time because you don't need much when you add them to water. So with that on, I've got a little bit of a shimmer. I don't know if that's coming across on the camera. I'm also going to add just a cheeky amount of a bronze one, although this one is, it's nearly done. I think I'll have some, just some splats. I need to make up some more of this. So this is a bronze and gold mix. While that's still wet, I'm going to add some texture using some stamps. So I've got a text stamp, an acrylic text stamp. Let's get it the right way round. I've used this quite a lot of times. I'm going to use a brown, and then it's not too dominant when it's on. I want this to be background, just adding a bit extra. Just add all of this, not completely covering it. I like that dark brown, that's really nice. Yeah, resist doing too much. And I'm also going to add, keep that open, I'm also going to add some of my postage stamp. And what I like to do with my postmark stamp, I should say, is go over the edge, so that when we cut it out, something about these being just off. And also not always re-inking, so you get different gradations of strength of ink on your pattern. And I'll go in with the lines as well, and you can see how it's building up, just adding extra texture and interest, nothing too dominant. None of these single layers is super dominant, and I think that's what's absolutely fantastic, and it's so easy, isn't it? So I've got some basic texture. I think I will add just a little bit of gold because I can. So I'll get these are my gold Gansai Tambai Starry colours, which I've been using, and they come in a set of 6 with 6 different gold colours like this. So beautiful little pans there. So I just want a little bit of extra gold, and I tend to gravitate to this more yellow antique gold. It's called red gold. Be brave and do it without any packing paper behind, and you don't need any single one of these elements. The idea, ooh, I nearly painted my ink pad. The idea is that you use what you've got, you have fun doing it, but just use some of those items you might have and get creative, because we're going to get creative with our sewing too. We're in the mood for having fun, and none of these will ever be the same, will they? You're going to have something a little bit different each time, and I find that I learn what I like, I learn what I enjoy doing as well every time I have a go, and I'm sometimes surprised myself at what I'm able to do. It's building up, and the other item I wanted to add is something from this beautiful, really, really stunning blue, Sky Blue number A029 from my chalk marker set. So again, a way of using chalk markers and a way of using one of the colours that you may not use as often. And again, what I've done is pick out a colour that goes with that beautiful butterfly. So we've built up, we're getting confident, we're swinging the arm, and we're getting colour down. That's probably enough, because I still want to see the paper behind. And then the final element, the layer, that it's new for me. I thought I'd have a play. I'm going to have a go at using fabric more in my projects, and this seemed like a great one to begin with. So I've got, this is some form of silk I think, I've got some little pieces of fabric. What I do is get them into about 2 or 3 inch pieces and just layer them on some of these pieces of ephemera. And there's no order to this. I am going to add a different type in a second with a different pattern, and the contrast of these works well as well. And the sewing will mean that, oops, although we've got a little bit of glue to help them attach to the paper, the sewing over the top that we're going to do will really attach it, so we won't have a problem with this staying in place. I don't want to cover up too much of the pattern, and there's really not too much of a formula about where they go. I would say you want 1 or 2 per item of ephemera. I'm certainly not covering up that gorgeous insect. I like that. Go on there. I'm just using the same liquid glue as well. Maybe I'll have something this direction down here. Just glue it on like that, and you can see it's got all of that lovely, all of the lovely fronds coming off. Just love those edges. Let's have a bit down here. So I've got one type of material on there, and what I had a go at doing that I quite like is just taking the little ratty-tatty bits of another type and adding that over the top. It's a bit like making a cluster using your fabric like that. Just get it in place. Now, because we're adding glue that's quite watery, before you do the sewing, and I'll show you how I do that, you might want this to dry off a bit, because I don't think you want to run your sewing machine needle through too much wet glue. You don't need to glue it down completely, but it just needs to be held in place so that as you run your needle over, you can also help it stay down and then just get it sewn down. And I think the random nature of this is part of the joy. And if you do make some of these, I'd really love to see them. So if you're on Instagram, tag me. I love seeing what you make. If you're on Facebook somewhere, then tag me. I would love to see what you make. So let's just add one little bit more, like this, down here. And it all looks a little bit messy, and we like it. So I've got the basics of my collage created. What I need to do is just let it dry, and then I'm going to sew it, and I'll show you where I sew and how much I sew. So I just use a really basic sewing machine to sew on these pieces of paper. So I've been using my Hobbycraft MIDI. I've done a video talking about my 10 best tools, and this featured in it. So if you want to know more about it and why I love it, then check out that video. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. The sewing that I do, the fast flow stitching, is all of these curves that then obviously pop up on the front when we cut out the images. But just to give a little bit of a few suggestions and tips as to how you might like to begin, I start at the top and I do put some straight stitches on here. So I've added some running stitch and I've gone around the inside border, so just on the inside of some of these images, and I've chosen both a running stitch and a zigzag and just alternated it. Nothing particularly scientific about which and when. I've chosen to go around some of the interior of the little ephemera to give them just a little bit more rigidity, and at some point I then decided I would embark on the fast flow stitching journey, so I just turned my page around under the needle and started heading off. And in fact, I don't know if you can see, but I had a problem with my thread here, so I had to stop and start again, but I don't think it matters even though the thread is sticking out. I mean, we've got texture on here, why not? So I just brought it across and made some curves, decided I'd keep going. I got a nice smiley curve, I turned into zigzag, I did a straight line and a cross, I followed the interior just up the side, the left hand side of this tag, and I added a bit more of a curve. And I think I've added quite a bit of stitching here, because when you cut these out, you do want to think about having some stitching on every single one. And also, one of the features is to try to add a bit of stitching over the top of the fabric that we added to really help that stay down. But beyond that, there's not really a lot to say. Zone out, have fun, and see where your sewing machine takes you. So that's the fast flow stitching, which means we can cut them out, add some threads, some eyelets, and then finish them off for our junk journal. Just before we cut them out, maybe a little check on where we're at. We've done the collaging on the back of an ephemera digi, or you could do it on book pages or just any piece of paper or cardstock. We have added texture to the front using what we have. We used colour, we used mica, we splattered paint. We've done the fast flow stitching, so we've really added rigidity, and now we're going to cut out the tags and cards and have some fun, maybe adding a little ribbon and some eyelets. So let's have a go at that. I wanted to show you another example that I'm also going to have a go at cutting out off camera. So this is a Tracy Fox collection of tags, all neutrals, very vintage, and I think it will work with this as well. So I just had a go at using a few other papers that I had that are printed out. This is the one that I did a few minutes ago, and it's not quite dry, so I'm going to cut up one that I had made earlier. I thought that might happen, so I tried to be a bit prepared. And oh, lovely collage on the back. I love that. Do you love collage? How could you not? Let me know. Let's do some cutting, which is equally cathartic, and I think it will be totally inappropriate to use a trimmer because there's a joy in the feel of the scissors as it goes through collage paper, just like that. Let's see how we go through the sewing. That's okay. And at this point, as they start to pop out, I think we see the absolute joy. So when they stand individually and we look at what we've got on both sides, there's so much interest and there's so much adaptation of this that you could do using whatever stamps you have, whatever fabric you have, whatever medium you have for colouring the paper. Let's see what we've got. Lots of lovely, ooh, beautiful one. Yeah, lots and lots of lovely, lovely pieces of ephemera. So let's add some eyelets, maybe punch a hole, and I need to remember to use the right part. So I could get a hole in there maybe a hole in this, just eyeball it, something like that. Maybe we'll do one more. That way up. Let's go there. And let's add just a few little eyelets. I've got my pack of mixed gold, silver and rose gold, and these just came from Amazon. I think I'm going to have my rose gold next to my butterfly. Give that a bit of a grip. Gorgeous. Like that. That's got some gold paint near it, so I think I'll use a gold one on that. So I've grabbed a bit of ribbon. I've got some reds and browns. What shall we have? That's pretty, isn't it? That could go in there. Maybe a couple of lengths worth. Cut it on an angle. Same to the other end. Double it up. It's a bit sort of organza-like, I think. And that can go through there. I have something on here, maybe a darker one. That's really pretty. This is a beautiful one. It's really thick, but it's narrow. It's got a bit of, just a little bit of squares on the side there. So that's really pretty. And all we do is just keep going. Collage cards with tags and some fast flow stitching. Check out my video where I made the junk journal with some fast flow stitching on the cover. I hope to see you soon.